Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So recently you would have heard in the news that Jeff Bezos is selling roughly $6 billion worth of Amazon stock. Similarly, Mark Zuckerberg had sold some equity in Meta. Now news is coming in that the Walmart family is selling some of its stake in Walmart. Also news is coming out that Jamie Dimon is also selling stake, वगैरह वगैरह. So a lot of interesting things are happening in the market because last time these big investors sold, that was roughly 2021, okay, and the markets corrected or started correcting quite aggressively after that. That's point one, right? Point two, let me show you something very interesting on how the charts are forming. This is Nifty 50 chart, and this is an analysis that I had done earlier, but I will just do it again very quickly in front of you. In fact, I have not even removed the previous level that I had drawn. So what I had said was that, see, Nifty is going to move till here. So this is likely to be a resistance point. So resistance means that the market could touch here and it could fall, right? So this is an important Nifty level where we currently are, because this could prove to be a resistance point. And this is a very good cup with handle pattern and exactly निकल के आता है यहाँ से यहाँ तक. If you pick up the depth and stick it here, this is the exact level where markets are in the Indian context. So यहाँ से it becomes a very good likelihood that the markets could roughly correct by 10%, right? Because this is the support level and there is a good chance that the market might dance in this range. So ऐसा कुछ करके जा सकता है and then finally it can give a breakout. So next 2 months are going to be very interesting for the market. It looks very likely that consolidation can happen. Consolidation का मतलब कि market इस range में घूमता रहेगा and then finally it will give a breakout. हो सकता है after election it might happen, हो सकता है it might happen after interest rate cut, whatnot. So a lot of traps are being laid out for retail investors. And at this juncture, you need to be extremely careful. For example, I have been repeatedly saying that you should hedge your portfolio. It is absolutely critical because in this market, if you are buying almost at market all-time high, you are not going to grow your new capital, whatever you are investing here, by more than like 12%, which is the market return. But the chances are that if you are pouring crazy amount of money here, कि भाई rally छूटी जा रही है and I'm investing this, that, so the market can fall and it can wipe out a lot of your wealth. So please be careful. Please understand what MLDs are. Please understand what bond investing is. For example, right now, bonds are giving very high yields. The bond yield is going to come down subsequently in the future. So you could consider investing in some of the bonds. I'm linking some of it in the description and comment box. You can go and check it out. On this video, I'm going to help you systematically understand that what is the correct Nifty levels and is the market overheated, not overheated from a fundamental viewpoint. What specific stocks you should buy if you are considering buying and what specific stocks you could consider avoiding and should definitely avoid. There is very high risk in that segment. So please watch this video till the very end. This is not a stock recommendation video or something like that. I'm just helping you understand the dynamics of the market in a sensible manner. My commentary is just one type of commentary. Please go and study what other people are saying. Make your own call. You are ultimately responsible for handling your own money. So on that note, let us begin. And point number one we need to understand is that where is market right now? Is it overvalued, undervalued? What is going to happen? So let's build the best case and worst case scenarios. So worst case scenario जो अभी हाल फिलहाल दिख रहा है वो ये दिख रहा है that you know what, the market could correct by roughly 10-11% के आसपास. It can easily correct at any point in time. If you are uncomfortable with this 10-12% correction, then you definitely need to hedge your portfolio. I have been repeatedly saying this. Please understand this very critical point. Worst case from a mid-term point of view looks like 10-11%. अब इससे ज़्यादा गिर सकता है. Yes, the Indian market can fall more than this. I don't think that it should fall more than this in the absolute near short term. For example, if there is some kind of election surprise, or if there is delay in interest rate cut, कि कुछ ऐसी बातें उड़ने लग जाएंगी कि you know what, inflation in the economy is growing, so let's delay the interest rate cut. कि अगर इस ये दो important खबरें कि you know what, election results are not as per the market expectations, or if there is delay in interest rate cut, then we can fall even more than this 10-11% fall. In fact, यहाँ पे कई market जाके consolidate कर सकता है and we can fall somewhere here also. So there is a chance and this looks like the worst case scenario for which you need to start preparing as of now. Part 2 is that what is the best case scenario? कि आपने यार डरा वरा तो दिया, अब best case scenario बता दो. Okay, see the best case scenario that looks to be right now is कि यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा consolidation होगा and then chances are that the market will give a breakout, especially during the results and जब वो उसकी थोड़ी सी speculation होती है. We are near that 25,000 psychological levels. So ये तो आप मान के चलो कि ये achieve हो जाएगा. This might happen very soon, sooner than we think. In case everything is favorable कि गई मार्केट में खबर दैट इंटरेस्ट रेट इज गोइंग टू गेट कट एंड इंटरेस्ट रेट कटने लगे, प्लस इलेक्शन रिजल्ट्स आर फेवरेबल एज व्हाट मार्केट्स आर एक्सपेक्टिंग, देन यहाँ पे these two things can possibly take the market to 25,000 within the next 12 months, right? So this is the best case scenario. So इस हिसाब से by understanding these levels you can figure out whether you should be putting in more money or withdrawing more money from the market. It really depends. For example, if you have just started to build your portfolio, तो देखो यार, you will be putting in more money subsequently in the market, right? So you don't need to worry too much about profit booking and all that stuff at this juncture. Of course, with the caveat that you are not invested in overvalued stuff at this juncture. But on the flip side, if you're someone who has a very mature portfolio, hal filhal, and you can see that the volatility right now in the market is really, really high. So in that event, you need to do hedging. So this is a very important point that I'm telling you, that please think about hedging. Please hedge your portfolio, extremely critical. Now, the second point that you need to understand is that in today's market, and here is VIX, which indicates volatility in the Indian market right now, and you can see that in the last 6 months the VIX has been rising. अब इस तरीके के मार्केट में क्या होता है that you know what, you are made to sell your good stuff and you are made to buy overvalued stuff, या you will not cut positions. Please इस point को बहुत ध्यान से सुन लेना, extremely critical point. When big investors build positions in anything, right, they will build it with the intent of buying something at let's say 25 rupees, okay, and then they are going to sell it at 75 rupees. यार वो you know they are not looking to make like 30-40% gains and all that stuff, okay, so वो हम जैसे छोटे निवेशक सोचते हैं. But if big players, FII, DIIs, they have to make money from really स्टैंडर्ड स्टॉक्स, जैसे कि HDFC बैंक इज अ स्टैंडर्ड स्टॉक, हर किसी को पता है कि यार फंडामेंटल्स अच्छे हैं, सब बढ़िया है, ये वो स्टफ, कहीं नहीं जाने वाला बैंक, ऐसे कोई खास प्रॉब्लम होने नहीं वाली है, एंड ऑल दैट स्टफ. सो व्हाट आर दे गोइंग टू डू? दे आर स्टिल गोइंग टू मेक देयर 100% गेन्स, ओके, वन वे और द अदर. सो दे आर गोइंग टू मेक यू सेल गुड स्टफ, scaring you with volatility in the market. This is an extremely critical point. Please understand this. Unless you understand these type of things, you will get scared कि यार ये निम प्रॉब्लम आ गई, ये फलाना निम्का प्रॉब्लम आ गई, ओ लोन बुक नहीं ग्रो हो रही, and all this stuff. You will sell good stuff. FIIs, DIIs are going to buy from you, and then you will crib later कि यार you know what, आराम से पैसा बन सकता था बट बना नहीं. Same story played out roughly 2 years back on ITC. It has since given more than 125-130% run up, very very quick succession. I was telling the same story about HDFC AMC. आप जाके मेरे पुराने वीडियो देख लो. It has given more than 100% run up. Same story I was telling about PNB. Again, it has given more than 100% run up. Same story I was telling about Bitcoin. Right now, please check how much return has Bitcoin given in the last 1 year. India में तो पाप माना जाता है to speak about Bitcoin and all this stuff. तो no one is now even bothered talking about it कि यार कौन फालतू के पंगे लेट वाली चीज. It's impossible to explain people, but just look at the way the entire communities are growing around these different assets. The important point that I'm trying to make is very simple, that see, big players are going to buy something at 25 and are going to sell at 75. They will definitely 2x 3x their money, okay, even on good stocks when they are buying it. आप सोचते रहोगे कि यार you know what, HDFC बैंक है, डबल कैसे होगा, इतना बड़ी कंपनी है and all that stuff. When are you going to sell it? You are going to sell it in volatility. These stocks are deliberately brought down by big parties. दुनिया भर आप ट्विटर पे पढ़ोगे, आपके न्यूज़ वाले 50 न्यूज़ चैनल वाले आपको बोलते रहेंगे बेच दो बेच दो बेच दो एंड ऑल दैट स्टफ. वट एवर लाइक इशूज आर क्रिएटेड एंड देन आप देखोगे कि वन डे दी स्टॉक स्टार्ट रनिंग, राइट. नाउ आई गेट अ वेरी नेचुरल क्वेश्चन हियर कि अक्षत यू नो व्हाट, कि ऐसा नहीं कर सकते कि फॉर एग्जांपल वी हियर न्यूज़ ऑन सम गुड स्टॉक्स. फॉर एग्जांपल अभी एशियन पेंट्स पे देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ कंसर्न दैट इज गोइंग ऑन कि ग्रासम वाले आ रहे हैं, दे आर गोइंग टू ईट इनटू कंपटीशन एंड दे आर गोइंग टू टेक मार्केट शेयर अवे फ्रॉम एशियन पेंट्स, कॉस्ट कटिंग हो जाएगी, दुनिया भर की चीज़ हो जाएंगी एंड ऑल दैट स्टफ. भाई थिंक अबाउट इट, एग्जैक्ट सेम स्टोरी वॉज बीइंग प्लेड अबाउट HDFC AMC. सेम स्टफ, राइट, कि अच्छा यू नो व्हाट, ये 4 फर्म्स आ रही हैं इन AMC बिजनेस, एवरीवन इज गेटिंग इनटू AMC बिजनेस, मार्जिन श्रिंकिंग इज हैपनिंग बिकॉज म्यूचुअल फंड्स आर नॉट एबल टू चार्ज यू वेरी हाई एक्सपेंस रेशियो और व्हाटएवर इट इज. नहीं हुआ ना, HDFC AMC also grew, no. So same in that spirit you are hearing right now on Asian Paints, on HDFC Bank, and ये सब के सब stocks बढ़ेंगे. All you have to do is believe in your fundamental analysis and have a little bit of patience. Please do not think that every successive year you are going to make 15% gain. It doesn't work that way. What ends up happening is that in one single year you might make 60% gain, and हो सकता है कि अगले 2 सालों तक you might not make any money on this stock, but in the third year you might make 60% gain. Just a very recent example here, that for example consider 2 stocks. One is Reliance, right, and the other is HDFC Bank. Now the weight of HDFC Bank is roughly around 11% on Nifty, and for Reliance is roughly 10.5%. कुछ इस तरीके के आसपास का है. So the total weight on Nifty of these two stocks is 21%. तो अगर Nifty को we have to bring it down to 20,000, then what needs to happen? Well, either one of the stocks need to be beaten down, and that is what is happening in the market. That in the last 3 to 4 months, Reliance has given a very good breakout, but HDFC Bank has been deliberately kept low. अब आगे चल के the likely scenario is कि यार देखो HDFC Bank तो बहुत गिरा दिया, right? यहाँ पे बहुत अच्छी पिटाई लगा दी for HDFC Bank. Now it has become discounted. Now let's say that the Nifty is trading here. Then what will big players do is that they will start buying HDFC Bank here, and then they will start discounting Reliance. I don't know if you are able to get this. This is slightly advanced concept. I teach these type of concepts on my member community also. This is going to be extremely useful. People have given really positive feedback about the community. Would really encourage you to try out for the next 3 months. आप 3 महीने ट्राई करके देख लो. द प्राइस इज वेरी बेसिक. यू योर सेल्फ विल सी कॉन्फिडेंस इन टर्म्स ऑफ योर इन्वेस्टिंग, बिकॉज कॉन्फिडेंस आता है बाय प्रॉपर एंड टाइमली नॉलेज. सो आई क्यूरेट ऑल माई कॉन्टेंट ऑन यूट्यूब मेंबर कम्युनिटी एज पर द करंट मार्केट डायनामिक्स. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल जियो फाइनेंस के बारे में आई स्टार्टेड स्पीकिंग रफली लाइक 40 odd days बैक, एंड इट हैज़ गिवन रफली 32% गेन. मैं कहीं यहाँ पे कहीं आपको मैसेज भी पोस्ट कर देता हूँ ऑन जियो फाइनेंस. सब होता है क्या कि नाउ आई एम गेटिंग क्वेश्चन क्या जियो फाइनेंस खरीद लें, ये वो खरीद लें. यू हैव टू सी एवरी एसेट इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट of the market. That is the central point I am trying to establish. And the key takeaway here is that some of the good stocks like HDFC Bank हो गया या Asian Paints हो गया, especially Nifty heavyweights, will be made discounted for no fault of their own from time to time. Why? Because the markets right now are sideways. Once a bullish pattern is formed, then हो सकता है कि यार दोनों Reliance भी ऊपर जाने लग जाए and HDFC Bank भी ऊपर जाने लग जाए. So then comes a natural question that what is it that you should be doing? This brings us to the third part of the video, which is that you need to fundamentally analyze the market. Now, when I say fundamentally analyze the market, what do I mean by that? Well, number one, you need to understand for how long a holding period you are okay with. Typically, whenever you are investing money in the stock market, you should be okay putting that money for at least 2 to 3 years. So in that respect, yeah, 2 से 3 साल क्यों बोलते हैं? Because there is an entire business cycle that happens in 2 to 3 years. Typically speaking, तो 3 से 5 साल में तो definitely हो जाती है one business cycle. So if you have purchased good stuff, so you will see a good positive momentum on some of the stocks that you have picked. Okay, so this is the central point. And यहाँ पे आपको economy का analysis करना पड़ेगा. For example, a lot of people are saying, you know what, Indian economy is like going to become like $10 trillion or $15 trillion. ये वो. So is that going to happen? How strong is the Indian economy? Maybe I will do an entirely separate video on this topic. Let me know if you would want me to make that detailed analysis. But I will give you a very quick summary here. So if you actually study the economic data, one of the key parameters is the study of GDP growth rate in India. Now, if you consider the government's word, they are telling us that the GDP growth rate in India for the last 3 years has roughly been 7.5%. Now, this GDP growth rate is based on 2021 as the base year. And एक monetary policy committee, जो MPC committee होती है, उसके member हैं, and he made this analysis that see, this is as per 2021 data. But if you consider 2019 as the base year, then the GDP comes out to be 4.9%. अब मुझे पता है बहुत सारे internet warriors will come after my life and say that you know what, इसमें COVID भी तो हुआ था in 2020, right? And वो तो आपने include नहीं करा. So therefore this 2021 GDP data is correct. The short answer is that this is also incorrect and this is also incorrect. How? Because see, 2020 में the economy contracted. Right? So therefore, if you consider 2021 as the base year, we are measuring the GDP from a below than average rate, right? So therefore, this 2021 data is incorrect. This 2019 data will also be incorrect क्योंकि ऐसा थोड़ी था कि COVID का कोई impact नहीं हुआ. So the real growth rate in India will be somewhere in between. So that is the reality. That is the economic reality. So is that number good or bad? So specify कर लेते हैं number. For example, 5 यहाँ पे था, 7.5 is here. So let's take somewhere in the middle. So 6.3 or something. So is 6.3 GDP growth rate for India, is it good or bad? The short answer is that it is very bad, right? The reason is that for India to transition from a low income country where we are to a middle income country, our GDP needs to grow at roughly 8%. अब 7-6, if this type of growth rate keeps on coming up in reality, then that is not a very high growth rate, right? This is part one. Part two is that the way this GDP has been created is due to capital expenditure by the government, right? This is an extremely important point that the GDP of a country can grow in two ways. One is that the government spends crazy amount of money, and second is that the private spending picks up, right? So these two are the major levers of pulling up a GDP. मैं oversimplify करके बता रहा हूँ. I hope that you get the point. So in the last 2 to 3 years, the government is actually putting in a lot of money in the economy, and therefore you are seeing, you know what, जो infra stocks थे वो बढ़ गए, railway stocks थे वो बढ़ गए, defense stocks थे वो बढ़ गए. Why? Because the GDP of the country right now is being driven by government spending. Now due to this, there has been a deficit that has been created. Deficit means कि यार आपके पास 100 रुपए हैं, you have 100 rupees and you are spending 105 rupees, then the deficit is what? 5%. So similarly, in our government's case, the deficit is roughly 6.5%, and even as per Ministry of Finance, RBI, this is a problematic thing. And over the next 2 years, 2025 and 2026, this number will be brought down. So what does that mean? This means कि भाई देखो, spending जो है, government spending, that is likely to come down, or more specifically, the growth rate of that spending is likely to come down. Now, unless the private spending picks up, it becomes a problem, right? So that is where we are fundamentally standing in terms of GDP. So this number needs to be monitored, and you need to make your investment decisions as per this number. If private spending is not picking up, then it means what? Then again, I will go back to that chart. What it means is कि यार ये sideways movement जो आप देख रहे हो, right? It will behave something like this, right? So it might happen like this. So the sideways market might stay sideways for a bit, right? So that is the important point. Unless GDP fundamentally improves from this point, my estimate is that there is not going to be like a, you know, massive rally. By massive rally, I means कि, you know what, above like 30,000 पहुंच जाएंगे हम एकदम से. Something like that is not going to happen. So this is a fundamental point that you need to understand, which brings me to the final part of this video. कि what is it that is overvalued at this stage? Please cut your positions on this. That is what I would do. कि for example, if you study a stock like REC, right? So REC का मैं आपको डेटा दिखाता हूँ. That for example, if you study from let's say 2022, so 94 पे था and the stock has reached 490, right? और 500 ही हो गया, almost 4-5 times हो चुका है, right? And here if you simply go and check कि भाई has the revenues or profits become 4-5 times? Okay, so 2021 से आप देखो, जब से the stock price has become 4-5 times, so it was at 35, right now it is at 45, okay, and this has not even doubled. You tell me whether this is overvalued or not. Now, I'm not saying that it will start falling from tomorrow, but once the fall starts to happen, that is where the problem arises कि you will not be able to hold it. A classic case in point is IREDA, right? So for example, IREDA जब बढ़ रहा था तो लोगों को बहुत मजा आ रहा था कि यार you know what, हमने तो इतने पे खरीदा 64 पे, right, and it reached 209, and now it has started to get crushed. Do you know when to exit IREDA? There is no fundamental basis to exit IREDA. It is just gambling that is going on in the market right now. Same is happening in almost like defense stocks, PSU stocks. Many PSU stocks are overheated right now. PSU banks में भी ये पहुंचने वाला है. Some of the banks are getting overheated. So please be careful about these industries. Do not put in like crazy amount of money here. On the flip side, please again go back to this chart that I was explaining you that hey, we will, you know, dance sideways in this market. There are undervalued stuff जिसको अभी पीटा जा रहा है, and that is definitely or most likely going to come back up, and it's very simple bet. For example, something like consumer durables, right? अब consumer durables की in the last 3 years so much पिटाई has happened. Why has it happened? Because number one, the inflation was very high in the economy, so due to which their cost structure went haywire, and almost every single consumer durable company has suffered, right from Whirlpool to Voltas to Symphony. Every single company, they have suffered due to inflation because their cost went up and the revenue hasn't picked up. अब यार ऐसे थोड़ी होता है कि सरकारी कंपनियां are going to buy like fridge, TV, AC, धड़ाधड़. No, that will come back up when private spending picks up. So what are we waiting for? Consumer durable का revival कब होगा from a fundamental viewpoint? Well, when the private spending picks up. And inflation problem, has it been conquered? Most likely yes, it has been conquered. It's not as if that inflation में बहुत ज़्यादा दिक्कतें हैं and all that stuff. लेकिन अभी हल्ला मचाया जा रहा है Whirlpool को लेके. Okay, so I'm not saying that you go and invest your money. That is up to you, wherever you want to put money. But you need to identify slightly safer assets to invest your money in right now. Why? Because there is a long chance that something like this might happen in the market as of now. Very clear chance of consolidation. So if you are stuck in high risk asset, then you are going to get crushed. If you are holding low risk assets and they are going down, it's okay. It's not end of the world. Even in a sideways market, they are definitely going to come back up. So tomorrow on the member community tab, I'm going to discuss this chart in detail, right? And I'm going to give my inputs on specific stocks which follow this pattern, but I will teach you a very quick framework as to how you can apply this framework to just minimize your risk right now. See, basically draw this chart, right? X-axis and Y-axis. यहाँ पे growth rate आप देख लो कंपनी का, and avoid these type of companies right now. For example, मैंने आपको REC का चार्ट दिखाया था. It will fall somewhere here. Very very high risk stock if something is falling in this particular quadrant. But on the flip side, if something is falling in this particular quadrant, उस पर कुछ भी न्यूज़ आती रहे, it is a safer asset to hold. A classic case study is something like HDFC, Kotak Bank वगैरह वगैरह. देख लो, आप खुद देख लो, right? कि growth rate of the bank is what, profit rate or profit growth rate is what. You yourself will be able to identify it. Where will consumer durables fall? Well, their growth rate will improve with private spending, right? So ये यहाँ पे कहीं होंगे, but इनका profit margin बहुत ज़्यादा high नहीं रहेगा, right? So these are also okay. These are not very high risk per se. इस क्वाड्रेंट को आपको अवॉइड करना है. एज लॉन्ग एज यू आर अवॉइडिंग दिस क्वाड्रेंट यू विल बी फाइन. देयर आर अ सीरीज ऑफ स्टॉक्स. फ्रॉम टुमारो आई विल स्टार्ट प्रेजेंटिंग इंडिविजुअल एनालिसिस ऑन मेनी ऑफ these stocks, but the lesson or the key summary that I wanted to highlight was that this right now looks like a sideways market. Be prepared for it. Please hedge. Please learn about hedging. Please mitigate your risk. Stay away from extremely overvalued stuff and continue to hold safer undervalued stuff. Even if it is falling, it is not end of the world if you have 2 to 3 year viewpoint in mind. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.